Hi everyone, it's great to be back in your ears for another solo app. I'm not sure how many more of these I'll do before the end of the year, but I felt like I wanted to jump on and sort of check in. And for those of you who are not aware or have never listened to a solo app before, these are the raw, real audio reflections of mine. And it's an opportunity for me to provide, I guess, a bit of an update and some insights into my life. I did one about a week ago when it was my eldest Noah's 5th birthday. So I'd been a parent for 5 years and provided a few reflections on that. And got really great feedback, actually. I think people don't mind hearing me shoot the breeze on my own. It is a bit intimidating, or at least it used to be, but I guess after 100 odd episodes of this podcast, I feel like, oh, why not? Just jump on and see what comes out. I never really prepare for these episodes. I just kind of, if I'm in the mood, I jump on and yeah, I love engaging with, you all in this way. I have to tell you about my morning. Oh my goodness. I feel like I was either going to meditate or I was going to jump on the pod. So guys, thank you for indulging me in this therapy session. So I have just gotten back home after dropping my child, Charlie. So he's my 3.5-year-old to daycare. He had about a 3-hour meltdown this morning, saying that he did not want to go. And it has become a little bit of a habit recently where he's just kind of rejecting daycare. Now, I feel as though this is new for us. So now I can really sympathize with those parents who have really struggled with, transitioning their children into daycare or, their kids not wanting to go to school, to daycare, whatever it looks like. Like I'd never experienced that. So I was always like, oh, well, that would be quite difficult. But, until you're in the throes of meltdown number 56, within 57 minutes, right? You can't quite appreciate how taxing it is. So I woke up this morning, Charlie's in a mood. I don't want to go to daycare. Okay. Well, mum will buy you a treat. When I pick you up from daycare, I'll have a little treat in the car. That didn't work. Then I just did the distraction technique where I said, oh, well, I'm putting pizza on in the Thermomix, making the dough. We do that on once a week, homemade pizzas. So I said, come and help me put the flour in the Thermomix. And then that kind of worked. And I'm like, thank goodness. He's sort of happy for like 37 seconds. And then once the Thermomix kicks in and the dough's kind of been kneaded, he just starts meltdown again. And then it's like, well, what do you do? So I was like, oh, here, a book, this, you can have my phone. I'm throwing my phone at him being like, you can watch YouTube, you can watch whatever you want. I'm just like, I need to break this hysterical crying. Like parenting award 101 for me. Like most people are like, sit with them, indulge in their behavior. I'm like, I throw the phone at them and go, you could watch YouTube. No judgment here because, hey, I'm all about whatever works. Anyway, that actually didn't work. That's how furious he was about going to daycare. So literally it got to the point where Jules, my husband, and I were like trying to I guess Jules is holding Charlie. I'm trying to get his shoes on. Charlie's kicking and screaming. And I'm like, well, get in the car and you can, listen to whatever you want in the car, like Wiggles, whatever you want. That's not working. Eventually, Jules takes Noah out to the car. And then I say, we've got to go. Come on. Noah and Dad are outside. And he's not into that, but he was a little bit more like, okay, I see that everyone's moving out of the home. Okay. So I managed to sort of get him out the front door, got him buckled up in the car, and it was just bloody murder all the way to daycare. We get to daycare. Oh, actually, halfway through to daycare, I look down and I always have a bag of like emergency lollies in my car. So I pull out like a snakes alive, thing. And I just was like, does anyone want a lolly? And Charlie's like, yes, like mid tears. Anyway, I literally throw lollies at them again, Mum of the Year award at 8 a.m. throwing lollies at my child to just shush them. And eventually he sort of starts sucking on a snake, and then he calmed down, get into daycare. And as I'm trying to leave, I'm like, hug, bye. the waterworks start again. And it's so bizarre because he's been going to daycare since he was 1 year old. He's 3.5. Nothing has changed in our schedule. He goes to the same classroom. He has the same friends. He's got the similar teachers. He knows the people. He knows the environment. What is this? And when I reflected on it, actually, it made me think, I remember they call it the terrible 2s and 3s, but I remember with Noah, between the age of about 3.5 to 4.5, almost 5, I think about 5 it stopped. He was the most hysterical, annoying human being I had ever been around in my life. Like, I feel like they should call it the terrible 3s and 4s. Like, 2 was nothing compared to 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5. That was bad. Like, I even remember texting my sister-in-law when Noah was 4.5, and I was like, I feel like, was your child this bad at 4.5? Because I thought they calmed down at 4, right? No. And she goes, oh no, it was pretty much like that forever. Like that, it doesn't get any better. And I remembered going, what, V? Like, it doesn't get any better. But then, I don't know, she was probably alluding to the fact that there's always challenges at different ages. I found it definitely got better closer to the age of 5. And now at 5, I felt as though with Noah, you can reason with him. He understands, they probably have a little bit more control over their emotions and things like that. So for those of you out there with the younger kids, who are also struggling, know that it definitely gets better on the tantrum front. But yeah, I feel you. It is not easy. I also noticed that the kids will play up more and will be in the feral moods. When I say kids, more so Charlie, when one of us Jules and I are away. So for example, the night before we had a number of us from the school, from Noah's school, went for a dinner, and the kids love having a babysitter, and that's all a bit special. So that's all good, but it's always the next morning. They're extra loud, they're extra rowdy, or maybe that's just the hangover that I'm noticing it. But regardless, I feel like they really make you pay for it the next day if you're sort of away. At least that's what I'm noticing. So anyway, it's just a mixed bag of emotions in our household at the moment. But speaking about school, so our little Noah, who just turned 5 actually, he has just finished, as of yesterday, finished ELC. So he actually starts prep next year. So for those of you who don't know what ELC is, it's basically like kinder, but it's run through a school, right? So we're here in Melbourne. There's a school up the road that have an ELC program, an early learning program. So I guess it's like preschool. The kids attend during school hours, like they're at school, and they have the option in ELC 3, i.e. like 3-year-old kinder, I guess would be the equivalent, to go, 3, 4 or 5 days. And then by ELC 4 for our school, it's compulsory for 5 days you have to attend. So it's almost like, literally it's a preschool, a little bit different to some of the kinder programs, which are obviously more sporadic. You go a couple of days, and then a lot of the kids will also attend a daycare centre as well, because the kinder programs tend to be for a shorter number of hours in a day. We opted for the school option because I felt as though it would be good preparation really for school, and it just sort of made sense for our family. So basically, what that means for Noah now is that a lot of the children who attended ELC will migrate to the school for prep. So for him, it's a little less of a drastic transition than I know a lot of other, pre-preppies out there who are planning for their big journey into the school system next year. I've got a lot of friends who are in that boat. And I guess I would reflect, in reflecting on my experience at school, although technically we haven't started prep, as I said, it feels as though I've been in the school system for the last 2 years. What I would say is, so many lessons. And when I even reflect on, my experience with Noah, I feel as though it's such a great time, if you do have young ones going to school now, such a great time to experience that and get the full social wealth of, the experience. I remember with ELC 3 with Noah, we'd just come out of COVID. So we had to drop the kids off at the school gate. pick them up from the school gate, and that was it. So there was very little interaction with other parents. It felt very kind of like, am I even going to make school mum, dad friends? Like it was very jarring because I think we underestimate the opportunity to be able to hang around after school for 10 minutes and while the kids play, and you have a little conversation with one of the parents, as their children play, or the opportunity to go to birthday parties on weekends, which wasn't really happening for us in ELC3. So I felt a little bit more isolated, I guess, from the school community then. The school was great, and they held, there were sort of social coordinators for each year. So 2 parents would volunteer for ELC3, call it, and then they would organise every sort of month or 6 weeks a opportunity for us to be social. Whether that's all of us kids and parents meet at a park, or, it's an adults only at a local restaurant or whatever, that was fantastic because it really enabled us to start building a sense of community, particularly coming out of COVID. This year, ELC4, it was a completely different story. We had birthday parties, a lot of 5-year-old birthday parties, most weekends. We were socializing a lot. And, for the first time, my birthday is a bit of a opportunity for me to celebrate most years, and I love bringing people together on my birthday. For the first time this year on my birthday, I had a special dinner for some of the ELC parents that I was closest to as well. So as I mentioned to you previously, 2 nights ago, we had sort of a little bit of a dinner with some of the ELC parents, and it was so lovely because finally I feel as though these people are like my legit friends now. Like it's nowhere near as kind of stranger-esque when it comes to people that our kids go to school, and the parents of the kids that we that attend the school. So I guess for those of you who are just joining the school community in the new year, can I just tell you, it is honestly it has been one of the best experiences ever. I don't know what your experience was like with kinder, call it, or daycare, but certainly for daycare, we are nowhere near, we drop our kid off, we pick our kid up, that's kind of the end of it. Yes, there's a WhatsApp group for our daycare where the parents communicate, I guess, a little bit, but it's barely active. And I know a couple of the parents from like an ad hoc birthday party here or there, but certainly there's nowhere near the level of sense of community that I've experienced through the school system. For me, community is so important. For most people, right? Nothing better than knowing a whole heap of local parents and your kids getting along with their kids, and you can be social and enjoy your time together. And yeah, for me, that was really, really special. And I'm so excited. There are a number of parents who will not be attending the school next year. They're going to their kids will go to other schools, but I know that we'll maintain a friendship. We actually put together, I suggested with a couple of my closer mum friends that we do a PT session once a week. This only started a few weeks ago. And it was really an opportunity to ensure that we all stay together because some of those parents will be going to other schools. We've enacted that, and I'm like, it's a great opportunity to get fit. We'll often go to one of the mums' houses, and a trainer will come, and there's about 4 or 5 of us who will work out together, and it's just so fun. So there are so many opportunities, I guess, that have come from the school community that I knew that would probably be the case, but I guess having now experienced it, I feel extremely grateful for those people who are in my life. So something to really look forward to as you go into the school community. And I guess the other thing I would encourage is, if they don't have a WhatsApp group or it's not highly organized with the social aspect of things, you start something. Why don't you look to get, a couple of the parents together and get them in a WhatsApp group? And what we found was the WhatsApp group was a great way. We had one for the entire year level, a great way to keep updated with what is even expected at school or what the kids are doing, So our school has an online newsletter website thing where they update it way too frequently. And I find it really difficult to keep up with all the stuff that's going on. So that WhatsApp group, there's such a great opportunity for everyone to go, hey guys, did you know that this is coming up? Don't forget that the kids have to bring this on Monday. And it's just the easiest way to keep updated with everything that's going on. So yeah, I would strongly suggest, if it's not already organized, try to get a WhatsApp group together and put yourself out there and try to get a number of parents together and for a coffee or for a local walk or, for a park date with the kiddos on the weekend, because trust me, you just won't regret it. Yeah, it's been such a great experience for me. And speaking of actually meeting new people, and particularly because at this age of our lives, like it's not often, I think that's what's so exciting, not often that we necessarily meet new people. I mean, we've got our friends who we've had from forever and a day. We've got our work colleagues, if you do, or if you don't, you've got a couple of people in the community that you might be friends with. But, you know, it's not often that you meet a new bunch of people to be in your network. I loved that, right? And actually more recently I went to an event alone. And so what ended up happening was one of my friends holds a few, like once a month, once every couple of months, will hold a social event here in Melbourne for, I guess, a lot of her mum friends and people that she knows. And, you know, sometimes it's a lunch and sometimes it's canapes and a DJ at a pub or whatever. And anyway, so I'd been to one of her events previously with a friend, and I went, and you know what it's like when you go to an event with a friend, I found that I was kind of sheltered by my friends. So I caught up a lot with my friend, but I didn't really put myself out there to meet a lot of other people. Felt a bit intimidating. So we hung back. This time around, my friend was invited again to attend, but at the last minute was unable to. And so I actually texted the organizer and I said, look, I'm probably not going to go because I'm not going to know anyone. And yeah, anyway, I'll catch you at the next one. And she ended up texting me back and said, don't be silly. Like the whole point of these events is you go there and you meet new cool people. Just come on your own. And I thought to myself, God, it's been a minute since I've been anywhere on my own without a security blanket. And also, like, it's the end of the year. I'm busy. I've got so much, you know what it's like. We've got lots going on. Do I really want to put myself in that situation where I could walk into a room and not know anyone, and then everyone knows each other and I'm just kind of that awkward person in the corner, and then like plus I've got other things I could be doing with my time. I don't know, what do I do? And eventually though, I said to her, all right, I'm just going to take the plunge. I'm going to go by myself. It was the best thing that I ever did. And again, I mentioned this because there's not many times, I can't tell you the last time I went anywhere by myself. But anyway, I get all, dolled up. I walk into this room of women and I see my friend straight away, the friend that organizes the events. And she's like, oh, good, you came, amazing. You're going to meet so many cool people, and sort of, encouraging me a little bit. And she goes, come over here, I'll introduce you to blah. So off I go and I get introduced to a group of women and they were awesome. And and then they introduced me to the next group. And then I was and then a few more wines later, we're all besties and we're all going off to the Botanical at 5:00 in the afternoon for more cocktails. And it was just so fun. And since then, I've got a few people that, I've made connections with, and they're like, oh, let's organize a catch up, over here, or, see you at the next event or whatever it is. And so I love that. And one thing I reflected on in those situations is when you become a parent, I found it is that one thing that you can kind of use to resonate with other parents. So, I walk up to this group of women. I don't know who they are. I say, oh, how do you know the organizer of the event? And they're like, oh, our kids go to school together. I'm like, oh, kids. Okay. How old are your kids? Oh, okay, cool. And like straight away, you've sort of got this common theme that you can sort of talk about. And then as you have a few more vinos, it gets more indulgent and you're talking about relationships and how your relationship changed and so and what happened over there, and the gossip and all of that is just, hysterical. But, the point is, yeah, you've got this common ground. So I really appreciated that. And I don't think I've really noticed that previously as much because I've always had my safety blanket in having a friend with me. But yeah, I love that, where a lot of us are bonded by the fact that we are parents. So yeah, that was pretty cool. But I guess as I look back on this year and take stock, I experienced a lot of things. I experienced probably, I've never worked this hard, I don't think, in a year in my life. And, even from podcast perspective, I don't think I've ever produced this many episodes. From a work perspective, we're quite busy. And that was great. But I think what I'm really looking forward to now is taking stock and actually dialing back. I said halfway through this year, I was like, I'm going to go on season break and I'm going to dial back and it's going to be great. And I didn't do that. I ended up doing a whole heap of bonus episodes. I ended up getting all excited and wanting to do more and more content. And that was great. But I don't think I honored the fact that there's something to be said about actually hitting pause on the momentum that you're bringing, because what ended up happening for me was I was feeling great halfway through the year. I'm going on season break, did all this extra content. And then in the last 2 months, I've been really struggling to sort of find that motivation. I guess you would call it, I've been burnt out, right? Because I didn't honor myself and take the time to kind of just go foot off the pedal. Let's just let what I've got out there simmer, and then, we can come in fresh again. So I'm really looking forward to, and this time I won't lie to you, I am looking forward to having that break over Christmas. And, when everyone else in the world, or at least in Oz, is having a good break too. And I mentioned that because perhaps it's something for you to think about, when you reflect on your year. Think about, were there times in the year that you enabled yourself to have hit pause and have a little bit of a break and not have your foot on the pedal, going hell for leather? I feel as though, I've got to do more of that. I've got to take more of those breaks next year, because otherwise, this life, these passions, our jobs, etc., it's a marathon, not a sprint. And sometimes I'm so eager to get to that finish line and get those results that I'm chasing. And I just think, if I just do a little bit more, I'll get there faster. And if I just do a little bit more, and I won't, I'll just keep going, and I'm surely I'll get there faster. And what I'm realizing is, by pushing, it actually doesn't make anything get any faster. It really, it kind of prolongs the inevitable, which is the need to actually have a break. So, and the other thing I think that compounded that was probably our economic environment, right? I mean, all of us know, firstly, the war and all of this stuff that's going on in the world has felt so heavy on a lot of us. It's just awful what is happening in the world. But even from a business perspective, like I've got a number of friends of mine who are in HR or, at senior levels at organizations, who have spent a lot of this year having to, make people redundant because the business has had to consolidate. Businesses aren't spending like they used to be. Consumers aren't spending. I've got a friend of mine in the States, actually. He works for a big tech company. And he said to me, Leonie, I've been so stressed for the last couple of months. He goes, the last wave of redundancies that were made in the States, he goes, it was absolutely brutal. What they did was they sent a mass email out to like a whole team saying, don't come in on Monday, you are fired. Some people hadn't checked their emails over the weekend, go in on Monday and their swipe cards don't work, and security's like, mate, you gotta go, we'll mail you your stuff, sorry, it's done, you're out. And he goes, I am so petrified that the next round of redundancies, that's going to be me. And why? Because of the economic climate, right? So even from my perspective, from the property world, for those of you who don't know, I'm a property developer, and we're also, the organisation I work for are also builders, and we build new houses here in Melbourne. Build costs have been through the roof since COVID. We all know that. But the issue now is that because interest rates have been climbing for the last year, buyers are very price sensitive. So a lot of builders have gone under because, of many reasons. But for us, I guess why I feel like I've been hitting my head against a brick wall and perhaps not getting the results that we would have liked is because of this climate, and is because of the costs being so high, and yet the income, or I guess the buyers sales, etc., are not coming in at, I guess, the level in which we would expect or have expected in the past. When it's a good market, everyone's buying, everyone's thriving, everyone feels good, it's happy days. When it's a bit more strenuous on the economic front, it does weigh on you. And I'm sure if you reflect on how it's impacted you, let's talk about the fact that prices have gone through the roof for everything, right? These are things that weigh on us. From a podcast perspective, I've been going out and seeking brand sponsorships and things like that. That's how you can make money from a podcast. You sell advertising space in episodes and things like that. Having done this podcast for 3.5 years, this year was the first year that I've gone out to market and gone, okay, I want to start collaborating with brands, and rather than do all of this for free, and there's a fair bit of resources that are involved in getting a show like this together, from the marketing to the audio tuning to the production days when you're recording episodes to this has sort of become a lot bigger now for me than just recording online and then releasing episodes. There's a lot more that goes into it. I've now this year been able to turn it into a business, which is fantastic. But I guess I had some pretty audacious goals around sponsorship and how brands were going to react to what I'm putting out there. And, I would say probably to date, the results have been slower than, I've been working my absolute ass off doing the outreach and doing everything I can within my capacity to get people excited about what I'm creating. But fundamentally, if people aren't buying in the economy and things are starting to stagnate, well, then businesses have less capacity to be advertising and spending money on marketing and things like that. So again, I feel like when you're running so hard and perhaps the results aren't as quick as you would like, it can feel a little deflating too. So I guess I use that context and perhaps to encourage you to think about your environment as well. But let's not underestimate how much what is happening in the world around us, how that impacts us, and therefore how important it is that we take time. We take time to take stock, and rather than just keep going hell for leather, which is often what we do, because let's be real as parents, it's not even just on the business front. If you're going hell for leather at home, it does not stop. We have obligations. We have people that rely on us to be there for them, to manage their meltdowns, etc. So it can be really difficult sometimes to even just have that little break that we're used to having, in our previous lives. So I think in reflecting on all of that, the successes of this year as well. I mean, I've been, as I said, at one success, I've been able to turn this into a business. Fantastic. And I need to own that and honor that, because I think when we are so results focused, and perhaps we look at this year and you might be in the same way and go, maybe I wanted to do more this year, or maybe I could have done better, or whatever, or maybe you're happy with where you're at, and that's fantastic. But if you are sitting there like me with these massive goals and thinking, I would have, it's probably not achieving them as quickly as I would like, I think what's really important is to take stock and perhaps even write a list of all of the things you have achieved, the micro achievements, right, which will fundamentally get you to the ultimate goal that you might have set for yourself as well. So even thinking more broadly away from business, you might reflect and go, wow, this year, my relationship's in a really good way, and I'm really happy with how I am with the kids. Or, okay, well, my relationship suffered this year. Okay, so what are the lessons that I can take away from this year and perhaps reflect on? And then, maybe I can conduct myself in a different way or communicate better or whatever it is going into the next year for my relationship. Or for those of you who might be single, you're sitting there going, okay, this year, perhaps maybe it was a tough year for you, or whatever, or it was a great year, whatever it looks like. But, if there is a plan to maybe find that other half or I don't know, just be happy within yourself, what are the things we can be thinking about for next year in order for us to achieve that goal too? I know from a parenting front, I think I've been so, busy with the busyness that sometimes I don't give my kids as much attention as they probably deserve, right? We're so, we're doing all the things and we're just trying to keep the household together, and we're trying to get food on the table, and we're trying to achieve our goals, and we're trying to do exercise, and we're trying to meditate, and we're trying to manage meltdowns. All of a sudden in all of that, it can actually be a lot harder than you think to give your kid, I don't know, what do they recommend? Even 10 minutes of one-on-one attention a day or whatever it is. I find that really challenging sometimes because of all of the things we're trying to manage on top of, our daily schedules. So I want to be more mindful of that, I think, moving into the new year as well. So I feel like there's sort of my reflections. And at this point, I feel as though we do have 2 more episodes coming to your ears from our actual show. As I said, this is a little bit of a bonus episode for you all. But in honouring slowing down, I feel as though this will be likely one of the last times that I'm reaching out just to I guess firstly, wish you all a fantastic break, a fantastic Merry Christmas, and encourage you to really, spend the time that you need to recoup, because this is the best time of year to do that. to take stock and to embrace your beautiful family unit. And I know for me, another action will be likely to be coming off social media for a little bit too, just because I feel as though in the world that we live in, we are so on all the bloody time that even something like social media, which I find really fun and like popping up a little story or whatever, it still means that I'm very connected. And that doesn't really allow me to stop, that momentum in my head of got to keep going, got to, this, got to be online, so-and-so commented, what do they comment? Oh, I'll comment back on them. Oh, I'll like them. I'll do the, and then all of a sudden you're sucked back into that world and you're away from the present. So don't get me wrong, love social media and certainly there's a place for it. But I think for me, in order to really, really take stock, really kind of, be grounded and not be distracted by all of the things. Perhaps a week or two of social media is something that's on my schedule too. So look, for you, something to think about. You want to, I want to be spending the time doing things that I feel is really wholesome and fruitful for me at least over the next couple of weeks, so that I can return to 2024 feeling revitalized and ready to go and excited and grateful and appreciative and all of the things. For those of you who like listening to this episode, we would love it if you could subscribe. Basically, that means that every time we release an episode, you're the first one to get it. Also, feel free to share it with a friend. And if you'd like to join in the conversation, you can find us on Instagram at Parenthood Pod. Until next time.